Hi, Assalamualaikum. We are from Group 4. Now we will present about question 2, which is Corporate Rescue Scheme and Liquidation in Malaysia. The mechanism is judicial management. So, the questions or problems is explain a case or example of company reconstruction, amalgamation, or judicial management in Malaysia. A. Explain the legal principle and procedures involved under the Companies Act 2016. B. Evaluate the impact of the restructuring process on member and creditors.
Good morning everyone, my name is Syakirah Umairah. Today I will talk about Corporate Rescue Scheme in Malaysia under Companies Act 2016. Corporate rescue schemes are laws that help companies that have financial problems. This law gives a company a chance to reorganize or continue the business instead of closing down. In Malaysia, there are two main rescue methods. The first one is Corporate Voluntary Arrangement or CVA. The second one is Judicial Management or JM. If these two methods do not work, then the company may go through liquidation, which means the company will close down. Now let's look at one real example. Skomi Group Berhad. The company wanted to avoid liquidation, so it applied to the High Court for help under judicial management. Then the court agreed to give a chance to the company. During this period, creditors were not allowed to take any legal action against the company. This gives Skomi Group to make a plan to pay back its debt and running the business. This case shows that the law gives a company a second chance to recover instead of closing down. Now let's talk about the first method, the Corporate Voluntary Management or CVA. Under Section 395 to 402 of Companies Act 2016, CVA allows a company to make an agreement with its creditors to pay back debts in a new way. It is simple and faster method to help save the company. For example, the company and creditor can agree to pay slowly over time or pay only part of the total debt. The main purpose of CVA is to avoid liquidation and give the company time to recover. Here is how the CVA process works in a simple steps. The first one is the director of the company make a plan to pay back the debts. Second, they choose a professional person who helps to check and supervise the plan. The third is when the plan starts, the company gets 28-day moratorium. This means creditors cannot take any legal action during that time. The fourth is a meeting is held with creditors. If 75% of the creditors agree, the plan is accepted. And the last one is the companies follow the plans and continue to run its business. In conclusion, the corporate voluntary arrangement helps companies to solve debt problems without going to court. It gives them time, protection, and second chance to rebuild. The Skomi Group case shows how the law in Malaysia supports companies to recover and continue their business. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, madam. I will be explaining the procedure for judicial management in Malaysia under Section 403 to 430 of the Companies Act 2016. Judicial management is a court-supervised corporate rescue mechanism where a company that is financially distressed can apply for temporary protection from creditors while attempting to restructure. The first step is filing an application to the High Court. This application can be made either by the company itself or by a creditor. As long as the company is financially distressed, then they can apply. The purpose of this application is to request for the court's intervention and appoint a judicial manager to take over the company temporarily. Once the application is filled, an interim moratorium automatically begins. This means creditors cannot sue the company, enforce security, for example, like seize the assets, start or continue winding up proceedings. This protection gives the company breathing space to reorganize without pressure from creditors. Next, the court will conduct a hearing to decide whether judicial management should be granted. During this hearing, the court will evaluate several factors, including the financial condition of the company, whether there is a reasonable chance of survival, the interest of the creditors as a whole, whether there are objections from secured creditors. Examples of questions the court considers include is the company insolvent? Can the business be revived? Would creditors benefit more from judicial management compared to liquidation? Do secured creditors such as banks oppose the application? And if the court is satisfied, it will grant the order. If approved, the court will appoint a judicial manager. From this moment, control of the company shifts from the directors to the judicial manager. The role of the judicial manager is to take over management, protect the company's assets, evaluate the business operations, create and present a restructuring proposal. After the order is granted, the court-granted moratorium remains in force. This means no legal action can proceed against the company during the judicial management period unless the court allows it. Next, the judicial manager prepares a business rescue plan. Well, this plan may include restructuring debts, selling assets or divisions, reducing liabilities, proposing repayment schedules, possibly converting debt to equity. The goal is to help the company recover and continue operations. A meeting with creditors is then held to present the plan. Creditors will vote, and for the plan to be approved, it must receive at least 75% in value of creditors' approval. If approved, the plan becomes binding on all creditors and will be implemented. If rejected, the company moves towards liquidation. Once the restructuring plan is approved by at least 75% in value of creditors, the GM proceeds to the implementation stage. At this point, the judicial manager has full authority to carry out the rescue plan. This may involve several actions such as restructuring and rescheduling company debts, negotiating new terms with creditors and suppliers, selling non-core or underperforming assets, securing new financing or investors, streamlining operations to reduce cost, implementing operational and financial turnaround strategies. The aim is to restore the company to financial stability and eventually return control to the directors once the company is able to operate independently again. During implementation, the judicial manager must also report progress to the court and creditors, monitor compliance with the approved plan, ensure fairness and transparency in executing the rescue strategy. If the plan is successful, the company exits judicial management and continues its business as a going concern. However, if the plan fails or proves unworkable, the GM may recommend winding up and the company will move towards liquidation. This ensures creditors still have a recovery path if the rescue cannot be achieved. That is all from me. Thank you.
Subsection B, the impact of the restructuring process on members and creditors. I will explain the impact on members, and Shura will explain the impact of creditors. My name is Balqis Binti Abdul Kahar. Now I will proceed with impacts on members, which is shareholders. The judicial management process presents both immediate negative consequences and a long-term potential positive outcome for a company's shareholders. So now we will look on negative and positive side in judicial management. Like any corporate rescue process, judicial management comes with both downsides and potential benefits, especially for shareholders and directors. So now I will explain about negative impact first. The first negative impact is loss of control. Shareholders will lose all controls of the company, but once judicial management begins, they will no longer have a say in how the company is run. Second, suspended directors. The powers of directors who are appointed by shareholders are suspended, which means they can make decisions or act on behalf of the company during judicial management. Third, manager takes over. A judicial manager, appointed by the court, takes over all management responsibilities. So they will run the company and make key decisions to try and save it. Lastly, there's a risk of share dilution if new shares are issued to attract fresh investors, so the value of existing shares may drop. So yes, judicial management can feel like a loss of control, but it's important to also consider the positive sides. Now let's move to the positive impacts on judicial management. So the first positive impact is avoids liquidation. The biggest upside is that judicial management offers a chance for survival. Instead of shutting down, the company gets time and support to recover. So that's the first positive impact. Now we will look to second positive impact. The second one is winding up outcome. In a liquidation, shareholders are the last to be paid and they almost always get nothing. So with judicial management, it gives them a better chance to recover some value. Lastly, we have a preservation of value. A successful rescue is often the only way to preserve any future values for shareholders. So without judicial management, their shares could become worthless. So while judicial management may feel like a tough decision, it's often the best hope for saving the company and protecting shareholders' interests. It's like a trade-off between control now and value later. That's all from me.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Nurasyura bin Zamli. So today I'm going to talk about the impact on creditors. So what happens to creditors the moment a company files for a rescue? The first impact is a legal pause button. This is called a moratorium or restraining order. This pause is a shock for creditors. It means that they are legally frozen. They cannot sue the company to get their money back, and they cannot start winding up the liquidation proceedings. Even secured creditors like a bank cannot seize the company's asset like a factory or machinery. Next, the creditors lose individual control. They cannot just demand their money. Instead, the money or the judicial manager will offer them a restructuring plan. This can almost involves a haircut. This is not a legal term, but it is what everyone's call it. It means the company is saying that we know we owe you 100,000, but under our new plan, we can only pay back to you only 13,000 for over the next 2 years. That is the example, and the impact is very clear that creditors are being forced to accept a significant loss. And now you might think that no creditor will ever vote yes to that, but here is the most critical part. The plan does not need 100% of approval. Under the Companies Act, the plan only needs to be approved by a majority of 75% of in value, meaning that creditors who are owed 75% of the total debt. So the biggest impact is this. If the 75% majority voted yes, the plan becomes legally binding on everyone. This includes the 25% of creditors who has voted no. They are forced to accept the haircut even if they disagree. This brings us to the final question where why would any creditor voted yes to a haircut? The impact here is about choosing the lesser of two evils. Creditor have two options. Option A, the rescue plan. They vote yes and are guaranteed to get back 13 cents for every dollar they are owed. Option B, no rescue, which is liquidation. The company dies and is sold for parts. After the secured creditors like bank are paid, the unsecured creditors like suppliers are less in line. They will likely to get a 0 cents for every dollar they share. So the final impact is a practical one. The rescue scheme, even with its painful haircut, is better for creditors than the alternative, which is getting nothing at all.